Let's talk about DO reed valves for a moment. And the reason I bring this up is because I am embarking on an experiment on the intake track of my little motor. Now what we have here is two types of intake. This is a CT intake, and this is a CT intake that's not polished. That's the only difference I can tell. Anyway, they're fine intakes. This is a CT intake top part that goes on top of the reed valve cage. The carburetor attaches here. This is the inside. Now, in order to fine-tune your intake track, first of all, we have to know what we're doing here. This is your reed cage right here. There's no reeds in this one. This is stock CT. We have the reed cage, which is this dark brown plastic, and these are the reed stays, and I'll explain that in a minute. You don't have to have them, but they're actually good to have. This inside here is the reed intake and the reed area. The area consists of, let's see if I can do this right. The area consists of these four squares in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many cubic millimeters they are. That's very important. It doesn't sound like it, but it is. Now that's one type of reed valve. Now the reeds that go on this valve can either be carbon fiber, which are more heavy dutier than your stock plastic ones here, or you can have full-sided reeds. The most important thing is that the reeds seal all around this area and the bottom area, all the way around with no leaks. And I was having a high-speed problem one time with my bike, and I kept changing things and changing things. The problem was this little area right here had got chewed up. Now you ask yourself, well, how does that get chewed up? And this will lead into my next segue here. The thing is that all things, metal or plastic, get fatigued when they're constantly bent. And you can take a small piece of metal or a piece of wire and bend it and bend it and bend it, and it will break because it gets metal fatigue. Now these carbon fiber reeds are supposed to be better at fatigue and memory and snapping back into place in the reed cage so that you get a crisp throttle response. Now you remember on the intake on your crankshaft here, it creates a suction which opens the reeds and sucks in fuel. Now on the upstroke of the crankshaft, it creates an overpressure. What the overpressure does is sends a force wave against the reeds that are in this cage. It sends a force wave against them that causes them to close, or a negative pressure. Alright, so you say, well, that's nice. What does it mean? This is what I'm getting at. Is that if your motor is turning 10,000 RPMs, revolutions per minute, and every revolution requires that these reeds open and shut, or bend open and bend shut, they become fatigued, perhaps along this area, perhaps along here, perhaps along any area that is a weak spot in the plastic or the carbon. Now, here's where the experiment comes in. I have just ordered a set of Boyson Pro reeds, which I've never used before. Now, I've done a lot of studying on reeds. I've never seen the Boyson reeds before. I've never used them. I can't even tell what exact size to get because all Boyson reeds are marketed for different machines, which is the way it is. But you can't say, look, I need it for a 120cc Dio with a CT intake. They just don't work that way. The point is that in all my studies that I've done on reeds and reed valves is that Boyson has worked and worked and worked on getting their polymers and their reeds to work consistently with no slop at high speed. That means when this reed is fluttering, open and close at top speed of your motorcycle, that there is no fluctuation. There is no fluttering, which causes the fuel mixture to be interrupted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the reeds that I get in, and hopefully I can adapt them to this CT intake. Now remember, the reeds, all you have to do is seal around this edge, or seal right around here. Therefore, if I can cut the reeds down or make them fit, I will. Now they are a two-stage reed. Now what a two-stage reed, this is a two-stage reed right here, but this is plastic. What we have is a large reed on the base of the intake right here. And we have a smaller reed over the top. Large reed has a large hole in it. As you can see, a large area hole. At low speeds, the top reed opens slightly and you get a measured response. When the engine calls for more fuel at higher speeds, then both reeds open. Now, that's an old theory, and the theory does work. But the point is that Boyson has consistently made their reeds operate and fluctuate consistently at very, very high RPMs. That's what all the books tell me. Now, how well it'll work, I don't know. But I'm consistently not being able to reach a top speed of, I'd like to reach a top speed of 78 miles an hour, and I can only get up to about 71. So I want to see if changing the reeds to a high performance Boyson reed will help me do this. Also, if you have any kind of reed cages for any kind of your bikes, your two-stroke bikes, you should go through and take a look at them. There's all kinds of things you can do. For instance, in your reed pathway, if you go in and knock down any loose or sharp castings that are on the inside, on the interiors, which they all have them. Another trick is to take your tiny screws here and to glue them in. But that's where I'm going with this next experiment. I should be getting that in with some Pirelli racing tires. So that's my take on performance reeds.